Well, good morning, all. What can I say? What a fight last night. Props to Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. for putting on one of the best fights I've ever had the pleasure of seeing and watching. And I don't even know if my words can do it justice and all that, but hey, I'll give it a try. Um, there was so much said in this build up, so much said and back and forths and all that. All I cared about was when they get in the ring, will it deliver? Will they be able to deliver on everything they've said they were going to do? And boy, oh boy, they delivered 10 times over. Almost like perfect pizza. I watched the fight last night. I thought about coming on here and doing a reaction, but I didn't think I could do it justice because I was just like the excitement just would have taken over me, and I felt like I needed to sleep on it, watch it again, and this time do a better reaction after watching it with more of my analytical mind because I was watching it at the pub last night and the whole place just the whole fever pitch of it just took over me, and so I don't think I could have done it like that. I could have come on here last night. Plus, I was tired. I needed to sleep. So on the fight, biggest one of the big surprises was seeing Eubank Senior turn up because there had been open rift between Eubank Jr. and Eubank Senior. That's their business. We shouldn't be wanting to be privy on everyone's business. Everyone is entitled to some form of privacy unless they want to tell us. And seeing him turn up, I'm not gonna lie. There was a bit of a smile on my face because, you know, you can't choose your parents, and sometimes I think just cherish them and just say whatever you think of them, however they think of you, just always say you love them and just try and make it work in your adult years and all that. So seeing him turn up was really nice, and knowing that both the dads would be there was the thing that was for me a bit of an icing on the cake. And um, to put it nicely, I thought in the build of this fight that what we would see would be Conor Benn starting fast, coming out like a bat out of hell, throwing punches everywhere, left, right, and center, and Eubank taking over down the stretch. I did pick Eubank in the build up. I'd always been Eubank because I thought that Eubank would just be too strong to have too much of the longer arms, little experience, more experience. Um, I thought that he would. I even before he could get a late stoppage win, I was tempted to bet, but just all everything in the build this week just made me think, okay, maybe I won't bet. I don't normally bet on fights, but I was tempted to do it this time. But I wasn't quite. When I'm not. My only advice is if you're not absolutely sure of it, then don't do it because if you're not sure, then don't gamble your money and don't. And I'm a reasonable gambler, by the way. I only bet a certain amount because otherwise you lose control of yourself. Um, to also put it nicely as well, I was a bit surprised with just how Connor was not bat out of hell, throwing everything that he could, and he was much more contained and much more measured than I thought he would be. I thought he was like at least winning the early rounds, but Eubank was displaying early on that he was using his jab early on, and I thought that eventually he would get used that to kind of set up shots and all that. Um, I thought as well, every to put how do I put it? The fight just ebbed and flowed in a way that I didn't expect, which is why I think a lot of people enjoyed it so much. And you know, you could hear it back. The crowd were totally engaged with it, and it just seemed to be every punch that was landed meant something. And the only thing that I could put it down to why both, I mean, let's also credit the fact they both had incredible chins. I mean, they got hit with some shots that I've seen them put people down with. And I was like, how are these two standing? Eubank caught him, I don't remember which round it was, but it was a round or two where he caught Ben with an uppercut that I thought would have just put another guy down, because he's put people down with an uppercut. And Ben just took it like no problem. I was like, wow, okay, Conor Benn does have a chin. He can take a shot and all that. And then Conor Benn hit him with some ones, which I was still thinking, how is he standing? But, Eubank Jr.'s always had a solid chin, unless you're fighting Liam Smith and all that. And it was just amazing. That's what made it amazing, is you just wondered, is any one of them going to fall? Any one of them going to show sign of that hurt and all that? And they never did. And that's something you can always credit both of them for. Absolutely brilliant, just granite chins that night. And just the will to keep going and going and going. You could just see how much this fight meant to both of them. They knew that this was more than just a simple rivalry. This was like legacy, carrying on, the family feud. I mean, they sold that. God, did they half oversell that? The family feud, settling it after 30 plus years. I mean, you'd think they were mobsters and all that. You'd think this was like a mob movie or something. Oh God, it's so hilarious. I just thought it was a fantastic fight, and yes, I would, if you want to ask, yes, I would happily see it again, because it was that good. So what for me, after watching the fight back this morning, I think now watching it, Eubank won it a lot more, because I said to I was watching it with my mum in the pub and all that, and I said the thing I think won it for Eubank was his punches. If you actually watch his punches, you notice his punches a lot more. And also, if you're a judge, you have to look for punches that are landing. And his punches, for me, landed a lot more and looked more like they were landing more than Ben's. Ben was doing that classic thing his dad does, which is like, if you watch his dad, go watch his dad and all that, that, I can't describe the style, but it's that bob and weave, move around, throw a punch from out of nowhere, hook or anything, or uppercut, and it can work. I think it works more if you're the bigger guy. I think it works more if you are the guy, you have the size and the reach on somebody. But you're trying to do it against a guy who has a way bigger reach on you. I mean, it can work up close, but I thought that his punches were landing, but you had to look closely and see if they had landed, and you only noticed they landed if the replays came up. Eubank's punches, I always felt like I noticed his punches a bit more. And I think that's what maybe was winning the fight for him. And he was just I didn't notice this until I watched it back. He used that little experience of pushing Conor Benn back on the ropes. He used his strength and size just to put that little imposing figure on him. Just to kind of push the smaller little guy back. And that, I think that also helped too, because it meant that Conor couldn't get sent to the ring, and Conor needed to get up more closer and throw a punch from range. And I think that's something that maybe Conor was struggling with, was, he's right on me, how am I going to get my punches off? Because you don't really get an energy off a shot if a guy's on you and you're just throwing for the sake of trying to get him off or trying to push him back. You always get more energy on your punches when you got range and you can really put your energy into it. The fight was just right now for me. If you ask me, if you stopped, if everything had to stop right now, I would say, I'm not gonna maybe give it fight of the year already, because fights are all about the world. But if you ask me for British shows, this is the fight of the year. In terms of on the British, if you give out the awards now, British fight of the year for me is this one, because it just had everything. And the other thing that also I thought about was sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. Sometimes we have these fights that overpromise and underdeliver, and I'm always wary of that. That's why I try never to get too hyped, because sometimes I think a guy wants to win so much that when they know they're winning, they won't push the envelope, because they think, right, I'll just get a decision victory, but I've won. I think I credit them both for not doing that, for both throwing everything possible because look, these tickets cost always tickets for these events cost a lot of money, and we all know that. And I like to think that that was it perhaps wasn't a contributing factor. The last thing you think about is how much it's costing. But I'm just glad that the fight, they both wanted to win so much that they did that. What maybe they would have done in the past, taken a few rounds off, got their energy back. They didn't do that at all. They just kept throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing, and I loved every minute of that. And that's all for me as a fan, a person paying on the pay per view, or if I'm there. Oh, that's all I really want to see. I just want to see you not throw. No, I don't mean literally throw the kitchen sink, but throw everything. Treat it like your life is on the line in what you're doing, and throw it. And then at least you can say that even if you lost, you gave everything. You tried everything. You did everything you could, because then you can hold your head up high and just say, "Look, I did everything. I did everything I could." Never do anything in life without feeling like you did everything you could, because then you can hold your head up high and say, "Well, I tried everything. I did everything. Used this. Did this. Did this." And they both did that, because I've seen some big fights happen, and I've come away from it thinking, well, kind of underdelivered. One guy dominated but didn't push the envelope and didn't get a finish. But oh well, that's just how it is. You gotta just take it as it is sometimes. It's like, you just that's life. You gotta just take some things. If it delivers, and you can be glad it delivered. And if it doesn't, then you can say, well, that's just that's just luck of the draw. So, again, fight was brilliant. Eubank for me, keys to victory. Just imposing his strength on Conor and landing the more shots that were more eye catching and more noticeable, and just gritting his way to a win. And credit to him. Post fight, now a bit of reflection, obviously, because some people will talk about what next. I mean, there is a rematch clause. I didn't think there wouldn't be. I thought these big fights don't happen without rematch clauses these days, or unless there is a desire for a rematch. I feel like it will happen. I think Conor does have options. He can go back down to 154.7 or 154. He can go back down there because he's not a middleweight. He is not a career middleweight. For Chris, I think the rematch is really the best option he's got because, the middleweight division right now is, well, he could go for titles, but Chris Eubank Jr. He wants the money. And what pays the biggest money? A rematch of Conor Benn. Still think he could have fought Hamza Shiraz, but, Hamza Shiraz is now up to super middleweight now. For Eubank, I'm not going to lie, I've not always been his biggest fan. At times I thought he was a bit of a so-and-so. I won't go into that kind of language but on this video, but I've not always been his biggest fan. I thought at times he's made some bad decisions and, not had the right people around him. But I always say, when once he goes in the ring and if he wins, then credit to him, he's won, and he can now wake up, well, if he's still out of hospital and all that, because I know he went to hospital for precautionary measure, but he has definitely, he earned my respect last night, and I think he earned a lot of people's respect last night, just for showing his utter desire to win and do everything he could to win, and I think he's always had that in him. It's just that sometimes you need someone to bring that out of you, and what more can I say on that? It was a fantastic event, a fantastic fight, and it's moments like this where it's days like this where I watch a fight back, a big fight like this, and think, this is why Nick P on the Fight Disciples always talks about being at the second fight and what it did for him and what it mentally did for him in terms of deciding that this was the sport he wanted to be involved in. And I mean, look, I'm not involved in boxing. I'm a fan, but it's these type of moments where I come away from it thinking, if I can be involved in a sport, it'll be this one, because football can just be, and it just does your head in more times. Boxing can do your head in, but you always think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes I watch football and think, is there really a light at the end of the tunnel? Because football has just become so dislikable now. They've just become so, it's so hard to like them because sometimes I don't think it's that You don't see the rawness from them. You don't see that rawness. You don't see those two in the ring last night. You could just see everything come out of them, and you could see what it meant to Conor, and you could see what it meant to Chris. And sometimes I just want to see that from footballers. I just want to see that absolute. Just show it. Just show your humanness, because I can relate to a human being, not a manufactured wannabe robot. But hey, sorry, little rant there. But what can I say? Fantastic fight. Go back, if you can, go back and watch it every time you can, and just be glad that we had this fight, and let's just hope for more like that. And this is why, okay, they aren't the best of the best, but this is why we should always seek to match good fighters against each other, because sometimes you do get fights like that where you just want more and you want more. But what can I say? Brilliant, in all brilliant, and that's just my reflection. And it's days like this where I'm glad to be a fan of the sweet science and the pugilist sport of all, and the noble art. We all for some reason we all love watching fighting, whether it goes back to the gladiators or goes back to anything. We're just crazy, aren't we? we love watching people in the ring. As I say, that's my reaction, and credit to both, credit to everyone involved, and hope everyone there enjoyed it. Hope everyone watching enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Fantastic. Like I say, this is my reaction. Good day to you all, and credit to everyone involved in that occasion. See ya. Enjoy your Sunday.